Hey guys, this is a quick update video on some things I've been doing. I haven't been making videos as much lately, just been focusing on other components, aspects of my life, mostly school, trying to get the semester going. I'll be taking 2 courses and then I'll be completed, I will have completed my undergrad, so I'm looking forward to that big time. One course is going to be on Teilhard de Chardin, because it's a private study, and another one is on some core class, Evil in Literature, which I have tomorrow morning. Very fun. Um, but the Teilhard one seems very interesting. I'm looking forward to doing that very much. Um, so, just as a quick update, recently I was actually published at integralworld.net. I wrote a blog response to Thomas Visser, no, not Thomas Visser, Tomislav Marcus, and Visser, Frank Visser, messaged me, left a comment on the blog saying, "Oh, hey, um, can I post this on Integral World?" And I was like, "Sure, I'd be honored." So he posted that up, and I haven't heard a response yet from Tomislav, but I'd be interested too. I hope he certainly does. That would be very interesting. Just to summarize what happened, he wrote an essay called Two Paths Diverging, and it was basically arguing for the idea that integral is completely unscientific. It's not based in any kind of scientific reality. It's idealistic, transcendental, and not grounded in some empirical facts, which would derail it if they were analyzed. And he goes through these ideas and presents an alternative theory, which is the theory of biosocial discontinuity. And what all he's really saying is progress is a concept that has been uh, wiped out a long time ago. It's no longer considered scientific. No credible scientist considers this. Progress is an ideal, and it's a myth. And really, if you look at society, the theory of biosocial discontinuity, he argues, is it basically says our organism, our human body, our human mind, genetically speaking, mentally speaking, has been designed to live in a hunter-gatherer society, not in a civilization. We're built to thrive and be happy as hunter-gatherers. So why then all these myths about progress? We're not really going anywhere. The quality of life has remained so-so. Maybe it's gotten a little bit better within our society, but really the most optimal state has been our state of nature, which we've abandoned. So that's the whole theory of biosocial discontinuity, which he says is more um, valid than integral theory, which doesn't ground any of its theories in genetics and evolution and biology. Instead, he thinks it's just, I guess, all theory and idealism. But I basically sort of said, look, I know you have some interesting points here that need to be addressed, but I basically responded by saying Wilbur does address these issues, and there are many integral theorists that address these issues. However, I understand that they may come off a little bit too conceptual, grounded in their own theorems, and not based enough in biological or genetic reasons. There's not enough interpretation of the data, of the hard data. And I know in the modern world you need that more often than not for any kind of theory. And my response was, um, perhaps we need a more organic and natural philosophy, specifically organic, and this has been mentioned a lot actually in the Holons network, the call for an organic integral philosophy, an organic worldview that kind of helps us create a more planetary culture. And I think one of the things that we need to develop in response is a phenomenology, a psychology, and a general inclusive philosophy that attempts to integrate the hard sciences and shift our perspective without becoming another just myth. basically to see ourselves as within nature still, instead of in a mechanistic universe in which the human beings are somehow disconnected from nature and disconnected from the world, or exempt from its laws. Um, so I think a more organic philosophy would be really helpful to unify a lot of people, um, and also help us acknowledge interdependence and interconnection. And I basically just put this forward, saying there's a lot of room for development in integral theory. I hope you haven't completely abandoned it. And then I also mentioned what Habermas has at least said about this subject, which is um, in development, in a societal development, there is a particular stage where the humans can differentiate themselves. When we develop, even as personal, egos, personalities, we differentiate. Newly emerging stages, when we are finally capable of more cognitive thinking, more imaginative thinking, we kind of differentiate ourselves. Um, so each new level differentiates itself from the former levels, and this is not just a psychological term, this is a biological term in evolution. And even in biology, when any kind of organism begins to differentiate its cells and so on and so forth. So differentiation is a normal process, and arguably, this is the theory that I think is equally valid as Tomaslav's theory. Arguably, societies go through the same thing. They differentiate, but there's also something called dissociation, where the differentiation goes wrong. We grow up the wrong way. So in our case, society had a dissociation, a dissociative issue, a pathology, if you will, where since we are emerging up from nature and we had new processes that were differentiated, such as concepts, myths, worldviews, some of us, for some particular reason, culturally, saw ourselves as outside of nature, and thus were capable or exempt from its laws. We failed to acknowledge interdependence as much. We began to see ourselves as coming down into nature. Now, this is a very Western concept, and it has allowed us, one, to mechanistically, or in ancient, medieval times, uh, as divine king coming down and creating us, a creator instead of an emerger, as we saw in nature, more of an interconnection. Um, Civilization created the situation where we lost connection with nature and lost our place in the acknowledgement of interdependence within nature. So this shift, unfortunately, became from a differentiation to a dissociative path, where we completely living in the hallucination that we are separate from the world and that we don't have to acknowledge very intricate, interdependent laws. So that was my response to his claims that Integral didn't mention this at all. It has a valid theory about what civilization is. So it makes progress look a little bit different, actually. Progress isn't as much of just going linearly. It's more of adapting and learning, and using the human mind in new situations to reconnect with nature on whole new emerging orders. And I guess this leads me to my last point. Um, I've been writing a lot more blogs, and in another blog I kind of summarized all of this in three major points. The first is the call for an organic philosophy, seeing interdependence, interconnection, ecosystems, not just in nature but in the social order. And secondly, these interdependent systems, what we're missing is a more yin aspect of the feminine relational energy, the space between the words, the synergy, the synergistic qualities of and emergent properties of the universe. We need to study that a little bit more. And three, one great way of studying that is observing holonic systems and the holonic theory, which claims that we come up from nature, there's emerging orders. So I thought these were a good place to start, and yeah, I guess just leave your comments, your thoughts, your reflections, and check out my blog. Thanks a lot.